A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. I'm not sure he fits the scheme. Jalen Hurts can't get the ball to him. He's obviously frustrated. They've got plenty of good players around him. A.J. Brown deserves a great pocket quarterback. Well, he got one yesterday. He got traded to New England in the worst-kept secret in the NFL. And Drake May is by far and away the best pocket quarterback and the best quarterback talent A.J. Brown's ever had. So there's a lot of different angles to this. First of all, Philadelphia is going to be fine. They couldn't get the ball to him anyway. Jalen Hurts has struggled for years to get the ball to him. They have Saquon Barkley. They've got better-than-average tight ends. They already rebuilt their wide receiving core. Mekhi Lemon's going to be a big productive player for them. Devontae Smith, Wicks out of Green Bay. Philadelphia is going to be fine. The roster's absolutely fantastic. So this is a trade I would have made years ago. I thought it was distracting last year. I also think, what does this do for the Patriots? Well, he changes the way everybody is going to be facing New England, because when you bring in a star pitcher or a star wide receiver, you go back to Randy Moss and the Patriots, it helps the tight ends. You can't cheat. It helps the run game. So A.J. Brown is going to fundamentally change the offense for New England.
You know what's genuinely amusing? I'm glad he brought up Randy Moss, because that's one of Colin's core arguments. Tom Brady never won a Super Bowl with Randy Moss, and therefore, you don't need an elite wide receiver, and that's why you shouldn't break the bank for one. He made the same claim about edge rushers and quarterback pressure, using Myles Garrett as an example. He also argued that it was smart for the Cowboys to trade Micah Parsons, and so on. But somehow, it's all fine for the Rams. Funny how that works out. The entire narrative that Jalen Hurts couldn't get the ball to A.J. Brown, we are absolutely drowning, completely flooded, with some of the most illogical takes out there right now. From fans in the comments, to the media, to former players, current players, coaches, ex-coaches, anonymous executives. We are buried in pure nonsense. This is about the most basic, elementary statistics you can find. Okay. Let's compare A.J. Brown versus Tyreek Hill. We all remember that Tyreek Hill struggled in Kansas City, right? Let's look at the 4 years A.J. Brown spent with the Eagles, and the 4 years Tyreek Hill spent with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And we all know Mahomes supposedly couldn't throw deep or get the ball to Tyreek Hill. A.J. Brown, 5,034 yards. Tyreek Hill, 4,854 yards. And that's with a 2-game difference. 2 games. Total touchdowns, 32 for Brown, 43 for Hill. So Hill clearly beats him there. Total targets, 521 for Brown, 520 for Hill. So, the argument is that you couldn't get the ball to him. Alright. Yards per season, 1,259 for Brown, 1,213 for Hill. Brown has the edge there. Touchdowns per season, 8 for Brown, 10.7 for Hill. So, about 2 more touchdowns across an entire year. And let's not forget, Brown missed a bunch of games, especially in 2024. Now let's look at per-game averages, since there's a difference in games played. Yards per game, 81.2 for Brown, 80.9 for Hill. Heavens to Betsy. Touchdowns per game, 0.52 for Brown, 0.71 for Hill. Oh my goodness, how crazy. Targets per game, 8.4 for Brown, 8.6 for Hill. So if Jalen Hurts struggled to get the ball to A.J. Brown, then Patrick Mahomes absolutely must have struggled to get the ball to Tyreek Hill. Season-high production at their peak with each quarterback, 1,496 yards for Brown, 1,479 for Hill. Seasons with 1,400-plus yards, Tyreek Hill had only one with the Chiefs. With the Eagles, A.J. Brown had 2. Would have been 3, but he missed multiple games in 2024, he sat out 4 games, otherwise he would have done it 3 times. 3 out of 4 seasons. And Super Bowl touchdowns? 2 for Brown. 0 for Tyreek Hill. And while we're at it, let's talk about Drake May. How did Drake May perform in the Super Bowl? Who was better in both Super Bowls, Jalen Hurts or Drake May? You tell me. Both went to a Super Bowl in their second year as a starter. Who was better? Who broke records? Who was the Super Bowl MVP? Who actually won the Super Bowl? Okay, I wasn't Sue. About that. I didn't know. I actually haven't watched the last few Super Bowls. I just had my friends and family tell me, and I've been reading the comment section. I wasn't certain. This conversation is just ridiculous. People keep pretending like A.J. Brown has been playing for the New York Jets all these years. Like the Eagles didn't get him to 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. Multiple 1,400-yard seasons, over 1,000 yards every single year. All-pro selections, Pro Bowls, massive contract. Trying to act like A.J. Brown is some kind of victim here is absolutely insane. Trying to claim that Jalen Hurts couldn't get him the ball. Then how is he consistently among the NFL's best year after year with the Eagles in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns? How does he have equal or greater production than Tyreek Hill had with Patrick Mahomes? And this is where the nonsense always creeps back in, because then they'll say, well, you know, Travis Kelce, and it's like, yeah, and the Eagles have Devonta Smith. The fact that A.J. Brown put up all that production while everyone told me Philadelphia was a run-first team makes it even more impressive. And if you want to come at me and say, yeah, but look what Puka Nacua did, I'll ask, did they win the Super Bowl? No. And guess what? They still needed more help. They still went out and got multiple defensive players. They went and got Myles Garrett. They now have the Defensive Player of the Year. They need everything. And if the RAMs win the Super Bowl, are you going to say, oh, well, it was easy for them? We talk about how amazing Sean McVay is as a coach, how amazing Matthew Stafford is as a quarterback. Yet he needs elite receivers, elite defense, elite offensive line, elite running game, elite tight ends, elite coaching. He needs elite everything across the board. But when Jalen Hurts wins a Super Bowl with great weapons, well, that's just what he needs. They can't win without it. Do you realize how foolish that sounds? Do you understand how absurd these takes have become? And then I hear, oh, Jalen Hurts can't push the ball downfield. Meanwhile, he ranks top 3 or top 4 every single year in deep ball touchdowns. But he can't get the ball downfield. Do you grasp how contradictory that is? It's just so ridiculous. It truly is. And now suddenly we care about pocket passing. Oh, now that matters. I thought we wanted playmakers. I thought that's why we love Patrick Mahomes. I thought that's why we love Caleb Williams and Josh Allen. I thought that was the appeal. I think Joe Burrow is elite. I think he's one of the most elite pocket passers we have ever seen. You know what would have helped him in his Super Bowl appearance? A little bit of mobility. If he could have scrambled for 70-plus yards like Jalen Hurts did, I believe the Cincinnati Bengals would have won that Super Bowl. I genuinely think they would have. But he couldn't do it. Don't get upset with me. That's just the reality. I love Joe Burrow. I love using references to quarterbacks I think are amazing. Go watch my Joe Burrow videos. But we just keep cherry picking, man. We keep picking and choosing when we want certain things to matter. The running game in both of the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowls was practically non-existent. Jalen Hurts had to carry the team on his back. Not Patrick Mahomes. Not Lamar Jackson, well, Lamar has never been to a Super Bowl. Not Josh Allen, Josh has never been to a Super Bowl. Not Matthew Stafford, Stafford wasn't even the MVP of his own Super Bowl win, if my memory serves me correctly. And we usually use that against players. Can you imagine if Jalen Hurts hadn't won Super Bowl MVP? Can you picture it? In fact, he had a record-breaking Super Bowl performance, and people still tried to argue he shouldn't have been the MVP. Can you imagine if it had been Saquon Barkley, or A.J. Brown, or Devontae Adams? Can you imagine what they would say? Oh, he didn't even win MVP of his own Super Bowl victory. But with Matthew Stafford, it's totally fine. Totally okay. Yeah, but he won an MVP. At 37 or 38 years old. Okay, fine. That's over a decade older than Jalen Hurts. What are we even doing here? You know who has lots of MVPs? Aaron Rodgers. You know who has only one Super Bowl win? Aaron Rodgers. We don't know how to have these conversations anymore. Why? Because we just invent things. Apparently A.J. Brown should have been traded a couple of years ago. Like, before 2024 or during 2024. I don't understand. So the Eagles should have traded a player who they ultimately used to win a Super Bowl? What? I can't even fathom an argument like that. I genuinely cannot. A.J. Brown in 2022 and 2023, Those were his 1,400-yard seasons, and they should have just traded him after that. Like, no, we got Saquon, we don't need AJ anymore. Specifically leveraging that to ultimately win a Super Bowl. And then again in 2024, with a bad offensive line and a bad running game. Yes, I know. It sounds crazy. A bad running game and a bad coordinator. And yet he still got the Eagles to win the division. Still got them to the playoffs. Still got A.J. Brown over 1,000 yards. And somehow that's not good enough. It should have been more. Just remember, as soon as Tyreek Hill left Patrick Mahomes, he went off for nearly 2,000 yards. 2,000 yards. And did anyone ever say, now Tyreek Hill is free from the Chiefs and Mahomes? No. You'd say, well, that's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. During that time, they won one Super Bowl. They went to a Super Bowl in 2019 and won. They went to a Super Bowl in 2020 and got destroyed. 2018, no Super Bowl. 2019, Super Bowl win. 2020, Super Bowl loss. 2021, nothing. That's almost identical to what happened with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. So was Tyreek Hill a victim of the Chiefs and Mahomes? No. He wasn't. But he had more yards, more production, more targets. How do we make sense of any of that? I'd love to know. Again, it's really foo. NNY. Puka Nacua had the most receiving yards. Devontae Adams had the most receiving touchdowns. The Rams had arguably the best running game, but it was two running backs, and that's where people get confused. They think, oh, they didn't have a great run game. No, they had an elite running game, an elite offensive line, an awesome defense, and they did not win the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, an MVP candidate. Sean McVay, an elite coach. And they did not win. Did anyone bash Stafford or McVay? You could say, well, what did you want him to do? He had an MVP season. Okay, but he didn't get it done. He didn't win in the playoffs. He beat Bryce Young and the Panthers. Oh wow, round of applause, everyone. Then he beat Caleb Williams, who threw an interception to lose the game. Round of applause. Then you lost to Sam Darnold in Seattle. Yeah, but Stafford played great in that game. Jalen Hurts played great in a Super Bowl and lost, and then played great in a Super Bowl and won. Why do we always pick and choose when to build someone up or tear them down? Why do we literally invent things and say Jalen Hurts couldn't get the ball to A.J. Brown? It makes no sense. None. You want to know what I really think about A.J. Brown at this point? I've held back my thoughts throughout this entire process. I think it's an absolute joke. I think it's an absolute embarrassment. I really do. Hearing all the various stories about what it could be, I just think it's a complete joke. From him carrying on the sidelines, to reading a book on the sidelines, to jumping on some random person's live stream. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? This is a guy who has made hundreds of millions of dollars. The Eagles gave him more guaranteed money than any receiver in NFL history, or close to it. They built a team that got him to multiple Super Bowls. What do you think Justin Jefferson would do for that? What do you think Jamar Chase would do for that? What do you think Randy Moss would have done for that? I'd say Puka, but who knows what's going on in his head? Well, we kind of know, and it's not great. And you think it's appropriate to jump on a live stream and say that kind of stuff publicly? Really? People say, A.J. Brown was right. He was saying the quiet part out loud. And this all came to a head in 2024, the year they won the Super Bowl. So no, I'm sorry. A.J. Brown was wrong. You know how I know? Because the Eagles did exactly what they needed to do to win the Super Bowl. You're right. Puka Nacua had better stats in 2025 than A.J. Brown. Again, did he win the Super Bowl? Was he even in the Super Bowl? No. My memory is still fuzzy on that. You wanted the Eagles to play a different way, when in the playoffs they scored the most points in a conference championship game in history, and the most points in a conference championship game and Super Bowl combined, and they averaged the most points per game in NFL playoff history. And yet you wanted them to do it differently. Or people say, well, A.J. Brown could have been even better with a better quarterback. So wait, he was just going to go to 4 Super Bowls and win all 4. What do you realistically think you can achieve? What universe do we live in, especially when we have other references like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson? For instance, people talk about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts being carried through the playoffs. Meanwhile, Drake May is out here with a 58.3% completion rate, 828 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a PFF grade of 42.5, and a passer rating of 82.2. And he got to the Super Bowl. Plus a boatload of fumbles, too many to count, and he was lucky most weren't recovered. He beat Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, and some backup quarterback for the Broncos. What was his name? Stum? Jared Stum? I forget. Congrats on that. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts had to beat Jordan Love, a quarterback Colin calls elite, then Matthew Stafford, who was literally the MVP just last year, then Jaden Daniels, the greatest rookie quarterback of all time, and then Patrick Mahomes, who depending on the day is the GOAT or not. He had to beat Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Andy Reid, and Spags. That seems pretty good to me, right? Pretty good. No? Football is confusing to me. I don't really understand. DB? Is that defensive back? Oh, drop back. And completion percentage. Is that what they used on AOL back when you had to log on to the internet? Weird. This stuff is key. ND of confusing. Also, you know what's really funny? How everyone wanted to make excuses for Drake May. Well, his offensive line, it's always the offensive line when they want it to be. He was pressured 56 times, sacked 21 times, and had a pressure to sack percentage of 37.5, which is astronomically high. Those are rookie numbers. That's a rookie pressure to sack percentage. Insane. And he was pressured only 56 times on 154 dropbacks. Jalen Hurts in 2024, when he won the Super Bowl, was pressured 46 times on 114 dropbacks. Just saying. Don't get mad at me for living in reality. We love to make excuses. Love to make all the excuses. It's just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown? And guess what? We're going to have more videos like this throughout the week, because we're going to see more absolutely insane takes, and I'll be crunching numbers. Before this video came out, I was already putting together other numbers and graphics, and I realized, wait a second, I know they're going to talk about A.J. Brown being free, and I already had this Tyreek Hill graphic ready. So I was able to bring that up. But you'll have to give me a few days to gather all the data and put it together. The tax man has to crunch the numbers. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates, but ultimately let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something we all genuinely feel connected to, something we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.